In this episode of the Anticheat series, we'll be creating checks for ping spoof, FakeLag, and blink, which are a closely related family of cheats that manipulate the cheater's connection to the server and give it an advantage in certain situations such as PvP. First, we should understand how the server measures the ping of each player that's connected to it. Periodically, keep alive packets are sent between the server and the client to maintain the connection. Basically, each side needs to let the other know that it's still there and wants to maintain the connection. These keep alive packets are also how the server measures ping. When the server sends a keep alive packet to the client, it contains an ID and also a timestamp containing the current time. Once the client receives this keep alive packet, it must respond, using the same ID and then attaching the current time to the timestamp again. The difference between the send time and the receive time that the server keeps track of is the ping of that client. So now that we know how ping is measured, we can talk about the three cheats that we want to be detecting in this video. Blink and FakeLag reduce to the same primitive cheat at a low level, and so we'll be combining them for the purposes of this video. Ping spoof delays the keep alive packets that it sends to the server, and it does not delay gameplay packets such as movement and attacking packets. So the purpose of this is to artificially increase the ping that the server measures to exploit lag compensation, which you can learn about in the previous video. So to compensate for lag, the server must rewind to players' previous positions. And as a cheater, if we can artificially increase our ping, we force the server to rewind more, which can be advantageous in certain situations. Blink and FakeLag do delay the gameplay packets, such as movement and attack, by holding them in a queue for a certain amount of time, and then releasing them all at once, or flushing them. And it does not necessarily delay the keep alive packets in the way that ping spoof does. The purpose of this is to give advantages in PvP situations. So when we're fighting another player, if we're using FakeLag, we will appear to teleport on the other player's screen, which makes it harder for them to hit us, even though our hits will still land normally on them, which gives a massive advantage in combat. So a quick note on the difference between Blink and FakeLag. They both hold gameplay packets in a queue and then release or flush them all at once. So at the low level, they both do the same thing, which is why we are combining them for this video. The detection method for both of these cheats is the same. However, they differ in how long they hold the packets for. FakeLag holds and releases the packets at a steady rate, for example, every 100 milliseconds. So your packets arrive delayed to the server, but continuously. Blink is a cheat that you must manually toggle on and off. So when you toggle it on, it starts holding packets until you toggle the cheat off, and then it dumps them all at once. So the amount of time that it's holding packets for is usually much longer than FakeLag, and you'll appear to teleport across another player's screen when you toggle it off. This is Blink from the cheater's POV. Once we toggle it on, we are no longer sending packets to the server until we turn it off, at which point we will release all the packets that we were holding. From someone else's POV, the cheater will not be doing anything while they have Blink toggled on, since no packets are being sent to the server. Once Blink is toggled off, the cheater teleports to their new position. Now I'll be showing how ping spoof works. So as you can see, when we have no cheats enabled, our ping is 1 millisecond, as it should be, since I'm hosting this computer on my local machine, so my ping should be extremely low. And if we turn on ping spoof with a delay of like 100, 200 milliseconds, then if we wait a little bit and then run the ping command again, we should see it go up a lot. So as you can see, it's now going up a lot towards 200, which is precisely the delay that we set here. Here's how we can detect ping spoof. When a player's ping spoofing, their keep alive packets are delayed, but their movement packets aren't. If the player was actually lagging, both the keep alive and the movement packets would both be delayed. Therefore, if the keep alive packets are delayed, but movement packets are still arriving frequently, that means we can flag the player for ping spoof. We can see the check in action here if we enable ping spoof on my client. You can see that we're being flagged for sending too many flying packets. Note that flying packets are just the technical term for movement packets. And also, keep alive packets are a type of packet called transaction packets, which is why we're using the generic term transaction spoof rather than ping spoof for this check. So now, to detect blink or fake lag, because these checks work by holding packets for a while and then releasing them all at once, we simply need to check for a burst of flying packets that are sent after a long silence. However, server lags or freezes, which can be caused by things like Java's garbage collector, can cause this exact same behavior and false flag the player. So we need to cancel the check if the server just lagged or froze. We can do this by using a new utility class in our code that tracks server freezes. So to track server freezes, we have this function that's supposed to run every single tick on the server's main thread. And every time it runs, it will store the current time in this variable called lastTickMs. However, if the server were to freeze for a few ticks, then this function would not be run. And then once the server finally unfreezes, this function would be run again, and then now minus lastTickMs would be greater than this threshold, which means that the server has stalled at this time. The code for the actual blink check, as well as the transaction spoof check, can both be found on the GitHub repo, but I won't be going in depth into the code in this video. So now let's see the blink check in action. You can see that we're flagging both the blink and the transaction spoof checks. And then if we move around while we're blinking, you can see that we'll set off the timer check that we created a few videos ago as well. So blink is actually being flagged by many checks in our anti-cheat, transaction spoof, timer, and blink. And if we kind of spam the blink quickly, we'll see that it's also flagging the check. And basically, depending on how long the gap was, it will guess that the cheat being used is either blink or fake lag. But this is just debug information. It doesn't actually matter. But yeah, you can see that the check is working quite well and flagging blink correctly. And now if we test fake lag, we can see that it is being flagged by our transaction spoof check, which is a little bit surprising. But it's possible that Vape's fake lag is more similar to ping spoof than it is to the type of fake lag that I was talking about earlier in the video. But the important thing is that it is being flagged by our anti-cheat. So we can see that our transaction spoof and our blink checks work in tandem to detect blink, fake lag, and ping spoof cheats. Thanks so much for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me out a lot. Ping spoof was a highly requested topic, and I learned a lot while making this video, so please comment which topics you would like to see in future videos.